BBC Radio Leeds.
So if you think about the movie Kes, even if you are a million miles away from any of the characters portrayed in that movie, I bet one little part of that film you can relate to. It really is that important. And we've got a chap now who I'm certainly related to a certain extent, Simon Golding, who's written this new book, LiFE After Kes. How are you, Simon?
Very good, thank you.
Do you remember the first time you saw the movie?
Yes, actually, it was quite poignant for me because I was actually at school and I was doing English literature, so I'd already read A Kestrel for an Aid by Barry Hines, and as a treat, I think it was about 1975, I was just coming up to taking my O-levels, and this big contraption was wheeled in. I think the VCR was the size of a suitcase, which was state-of-the-art then, of course.
Yeah.
And we actually watched Kes, and absolutely mesmerised. Even the bell, I remember going probably about 4 to 5 minutes before the end, and there wasn't that great exodus towards the exits. It actually stopped, and everybody saw that very poignant end where it was very silent, where the burial scene of the dead bird. But yeah, fantastic. And from then, I was gripped.
Well, your book, follows the life of the movie from its inception right to the present day. It's what the actors and the protagonists are doing now. This was shot on location with real-life people, and I think that's probably what makes it so realistic, do you think?
Yes, it certainly was, Bob. And I think that's the style, obviously, of Ken Loach that we respect and we know now. But, of course, back then, there was a lot of new innovations starting. The filming, obviously, with Chris Menges, and this idea, this where he started, this realism, where using people, not only were they non-actors, of course, apart from Colin Welland, he was the only one, but he was a former teacher, of course. But a lot of the friendships that were on screen were also friendships in real life. And so made it dramatic,
Those stories really just jumped out of the screen at you, didn't they?
Most definitely.
So if you're one of the few people that haven't seen Kes, what's it about, Simon? What's the story?
Well, obviously, as people will tell you, there's probably different messages. Young people can watch it, and people who want to laugh at it can also see that side of it. There's also a political side, which I think you may have picked on earlier on, and it is about this idea of a young mind that's probably been thrown on the scrap heap, really. The 11 plus, all the teachers treated him as a failure, but he had this great skill, this idea of falconry, which is something that takes, imagination, great artistry, intelligence, which, that shows that there was something special in this person. And, of course, it wasn't just about Billy Casper, the lead protagonist. It was about Billy Caspers like him, that these people... and there's a very political side to the book as well, which there was in the film and obviously was in Barry Hines' book, that, this attainment, that you shouldn't write young people off, that they have got something special, hopefully in all of them. And this is what the film certainly brings through.
Do you remember I remember the pressure of the 11 plus, but I just missed out, actually. They changed it just before I was going to take it. Yeah. But I remember my mum, who comes from working class roots in the northeast, said, you're not going to that school, don't worry, you'll pass your 11 plus, you're going to the grammar school, Robert, you're going to make... Yeah. And there was still that... this is what... the 70s, early 80s.
Yes, certainly. Yes,
and still this stigma that if you don't pass your 11 plus, that's it, you're on the scrap heap, you're working down the pit.
Most definitely. Certainly in Barnsley, where the film was shot at St Helens, now Edwin Shearing, there was this... quite advertised way of creaming, which we all know about, which happened all over the country, of course, where the ones that actually did probably fail the 11 plus were sort of, some were picked off for these late developers, so they had some small bite of the cherry at 13, but really the teachers, not in all cases, looked at them as failures, and a lot of the people carried that through. A lot of the children carried that through to later life. I actually failed my 11 plus, but I was saved by the comprehensive school, so I didn't actually go into secondary modern.
But the system continued. I went to a comprehensive school, and immediately kids were put in the lower or the upper band.
Well, definitely.
And they immediately felt sick.
It starts off again, yes.
One of the best scenes and most powerful scenes in the film, I think, because it makes you laugh uncontrollably to the point of crying, and then it smacks you in the face, is the corporal punishment scene. Of course. Now, you talked about realism. How did they make it so good?
Yes, I think that's probably where the boundaries probably broken down, and I don't think those boundaries would probably should have been crossed at that time, but certainly wouldn't be now. And yes, the case was that they did actually really cane them.
They did. They actually caned.
They actually caned them. Yes, and I think it was bad for obviously the older children. probably 14. I mean, Di Bradley was 14. They were a mixture of 14 and 15-year-olds. But obviously the young Martin Harley, and it's obviously all in the book, that it did scar him emotionally, probably not physically. And although it's not something he's carried through, it's something he is conscious of, and it's something that troubles him when he watches the film and talking about it, of course.
Now, this is the younger lad who, in the film, 3 of them get pulled in front of the headmaster for smoking. One young lad just gets sent there with a note to pass to the headmaster. The headmaster assumes that he's one of the kids that's in trouble, and he gets the cane. Now, in the film, he keeps trying to explain himself to the headmaster, and the headmaster doesn't let him finish.
No.
Now, in the book, you actually explain that this was done for real.
Yes.
Loach said to the headmaster, "You do not let him speak."
Which is awful, really, isn't it?
And then this young lad gets caned. So it's real, 100%.
Most definitely, and I think you can see it in his eyes, and as I've spoken to Martin, and say that those tears were real. And it was a great chance to let him put his side forward, which was very important, of course. But of course, yes, and that was the instruction. Don't let that little lad, whatever he does, don't let him get a word in. And you can see the panic almost rise as the scene develops. And of course, that's what Loach was exactly what he was looking for.
Yeah, the PE scene is also one that sticks out because it's just so realistic with the wonderful Brian Glover.
Fantastic.
And he's a former teacher. And
yes, he was.
How did he come about to be in it though? Because he's perfect. It wouldn't have worked without him, I don't think, that scene.
Yes, what a wonderful character, Brian. I'm very fortunate to write Brian Glover's biography, which I'm working on at the moment, very closely with his widow, Tara Glover. And what a great character he was in the business. It's certainly, revered. He was a wonderful man. And it actually comes 2 areas. I think what happened, actually, Barry Hines, actually, because obviously he knew Brian, and actually spoke to him and said, I'm doing this film. There's a couple of parts, I think, but certainly the part of the PE teacher he was made for. I mean, the plump games mastery, he was just wonderful. It was just,
the competitive streak. He didn't want to lose at any cost, no matter, even if it was going to humiliate the kids. Just like my PE teacher. I'm telling you, absolutely exactly the same. It's untrue. So then, if you've been living in a cave and you've never actually seen Kes, Simon, I would say if you're going to get out the video shop tonight and watch it, I would say look out for the caning scene of the story you've just told.
Yes, most
it really is significant. What would you say? What's the most poignant part of the film for you?
I think, I love the interaction with the brother. Freddie Fletcher's a friend of mine and who plays Judd Casper, and that power. I think he gave a great edge to the scene, and I do love those scenes. That life inside that very small, confined mining house that Lynn Perry, of course, who was well known for Coronation Street, and that just seemed to dominate some of those scenes, and it just looked like so unreal. It was so unlike my childhood. But there's probably about 4 to 5 key scenes in Kes. We've already mentioned, obviously, the caning scene, which is very important. Also, the football scene. I think also I like when Billy sees the Kestrel first time, and actually the climbing scene as well, which is another incredible feat, where he actually went up in the dark, without any safety nets, and that was actually filmed as he liberated the bird for the very first time.
Is that right? Wow.
So, yeah, there were quite a few interesting, important scenes in Kes, and that moved the story forward. Mm-hmm. And, of course, followed very closely to the book, Barry Hines' original novel, Kestrel for a Knave. Well,
if you've never seen it, go to your video shop tonight and make sure you hire it out because it is a beauty. Also, you can get LiFE After Kes, which is the book that you've written, Simon, which I wouldn't say it if I didn't like it, but it is a beauty. I haven't been able to put it down, which means much. I haven't done all my work for today, all my research, so you'll have to forgive me.
Well,
great to talk to you, Simon. Thank you very much indeed, Simon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's today's West Yorkshire BBC Radio Leeds. We'll be continuing to talk about Kes.